If you have a question, put it in the chat. I am Cassie. You get the emails from me from Cassandra, but I go by Cassie. I'm the director of CACFP here at the department, and Jennifer Pryor is in here. You guys are probably all familiar with her. She works with all of our at-risk programs. So first and foremost, I know you guys are all like at your wits end with us with all the locking and unlocking and new requirements, and I promise it's going to get better. We're cleaning up some things, and we want you to bear with us while we're trying to get things in order. I can assure you that we are doing our best to make this much easier for everyone, and especially for schools. The application last year was a disaster. We know it was difficult for everyone. We implemented a new budget that was just challenging, and it was questioned a lot why we were asking so much of schools when you already participate in another one of our programs. And we've known for some time that really it should be kind of a streamlined process for you guys to participate in CACFP. We just couldn't put our finger on the memos and the regulations that support that. And so we've finally got the information we need and worked with USDA to kind of make it more streamlined and require less of you guys. So if you haven't had the chance yet to look at the application, it could be because we have you locked out, and I'll explain that as we go along. But there's good reason we have you locked out, because we want to get it set up right before you get in there and start doing anything, because we don't want to risk losing any work, and we don't want to risk you doing parts of the application that you are exempt from having to do. And I think you'll be excited when you see what I'm talking about. So please at any time interrupt if you have questions, put it in the chat. We will be monitoring as we go. If something I say doesn't make sense or you didn't understand me, please just interrupt, because I have a tendency to just ramble on and on. So first and foremost, some of you might be locked out for bell schedules. We are nearing the very end of getting that taken care of. We're going to get you access. You still have plenty of time to get your claim in. I know that's frustrating, but we realized we weren't looking at bell schedules quite as in depth as we needed to make sure individuals or schools that wanted to participate in that extended learning hour. And it is a confusing criteria for who's eligible. So I just want to explain that while we have, it's only schools on here. Only schools are eligible for or not eligible, but have that option to do the extended learning hour. So there's kind of two things that have to happen in order for you to be able to serve anytime after or before the last bell rings. First, you have to complete a full day of education. And in our state, what that's considered is 6 hours of rigorous education. But 6 hours alone isn't enough. The 6th hour is once that's completed, then you can begin serving, but you still have to go an additional hour. So you still have to have 7 full hours of instruction in a day, but you're eligible to start serving that meal, that third meal as you guys refer to it, during that last extended hour that's beyond your 6 required hours of education each day. And so we found that there were many schools that were coming up short, some just by a few minutes and some by a great amount that we just didn't look as close as we needed to. So we really had to stop in our tracks and collect that in July to kind of get a handle on what we needed to do with this. By no means are we not going to allow you to claim what was left in the fiscal year. But I say all that if you've been notified that for whatever reason you were not eligible, your bell schedule didn't show us that you had enough hours of education to be eligible for that extended learning hour, you're going to have to change gears and figure out something new for October. If you decide to serve truly after school, and that's what this program was designed for, is to serve after school. After that last bell rings and the kids have the choice, the option to go home, if you do an after school program where the children can stay to participate, we don't care how many hours, we don't care what happened before school. If you're truly operating after school, it doesn't matter. It's just if you're trying to serve that meal before the actual end of the school day, that's when we've got to analyze your bell schedules. So if you have questions about that the reason it's taken so long is because Jennifer's really had to work one-on-one with every one of you guys to make sure we're looking at it correctly. And yes, I do have a few brand new people in here. if you don't have a login yet, or if you're renewing and you're just still locked out. Still into the last minute before I switched over to this training, we were still getting people reactivated. So yesterday, was that yesterday that I sent that email out, or Monday? I don't know. It all runs together at this point. So with some of the new changes that we pushed out, we realized we're missing a lot of the superintendent information. And we realized that many times a superintendent might not even get in here and be the ones filling out applications. They appoint someone else to do that, and that's fine. But the superintendent is the primary responsible principal and or individual. We call those RPIs in CACFP. So we have to have their information. If unfortunately you ever were SD, that principal is going to get a letter and it's going to go to him, and we have to have his information. So that's why we kind of had to stop in our tracks. I'll show you the update that's requiring that. And like I said, it's just kind of like a snowball effect. These changes we made, which are really good, just in order to get to where we need to be, there's things we need to have updated. So over the last few days, emails have gone out. If we didn't have your superintendent's information, requiring certificates of authority, and in CACFP, you do have to submit a driver's license. And I know people are like, well, why do you need that? You don't need it in cars for the other side. And just the honest truth of that is because CACFP is just a different group of people. It's a whole different program. And unfortunately, we have people who apply for this program who aren't in it for the right reasons. We have had people that have pretended to be individuals they aren't, or say they aren't who they really are. And so we had to make it a requirement across the state, across the board for all participants, because USDA can't just allow us to ask for a license from one person and not everyone. So anyone that is an RPI and in our system as a user, we have to have that driver's license. So that's why we do that. It's stored in our system, and the copy that you sent us is deleted and destroyed. So it is stored in our safe website, secure website. So anyway, if you're still locked out, please send us that certificate of authority and driver's license for your superintendent, and we will get it taken care of as soon as possible. If you are new and can't log in, I am also working with brand new applicants, and it's just completely bonkers right now. So I promise you, we still got time. I'll get you set up and you can work on the application. When you see how short and sweet the application is for you guys right now, hopefully you guys will can relax and calm down and not be quite so worried. So it's not going to be near as crazy as last year. If it is, I've already said we're all quitting. I give up. No, not really, but it's going to be better. Last year was hard for all of us. So I am logged in a test account. You're going to see some bogus made up stuff. So if my screen looks a little different than yours, that's because I'm in my account for me that I have buttons and stuff I can press that you wouldn't otherwise, but it's just easiest this way. But any of the information on your business maintenance page that is ever incorrect, and if it's grayed out, like for instance, this is grayed out because it's not applicable, but you have other things, all this pretty much is grayed out for you guys. If it's not right, if you're still locked out, yeah, email it to Jennifer and I. And if you've already done it, we just haven't got to it yet, and we will. I promise we are working as hard as we can to get it taken care of. So just bear with us. I really think by maybe the end of the day, if you've submitted it to us, we'll have it. We'll have you taken care of. It'll just be those we're still lacking. I think we counted, it was like less than 40 that I think that we haven't gotten to yet. So we're in good shape. Anyway, any of this, if it's not right, once you've sent it all in, it shouldn't take us, it's a matter of how many we have in front of you. If we have it in our hands and we don't have anyone else in front of you, it takes us a couple of minutes. So we're doing them as fast as we can, I promise. Well, okay, we didn't lock you out of claims, but that's where it's like, it's convoluted. There's some people that are locked out altogether because we still haven't resolved the bell schedule issue. So if your bell schedule issue is taken care of, you should be able to log into claims. For the reason of the certificate of authority, I just removed you from application side because I don't want you to start an application yet, and I'll show you why here in a second. If you were to start it now and we don't have what we need to update it, I can't change you to this new application type that we've created, and you'll either risk doing work you don't need to do or losing information that you've done because we have to change it. So if you can't log in, we're missing something from you, and it's probably your certificate of authority and driver's license for your superintendent. So anything on this page that's grayed out and it's not right and you can't change it, you need to let your person know. And everybody on this training, your person is Jennifer Pryor. And if you're ever unsure of that, you can always scroll down here to the bottom and see who your assigned people are. Jennifer would be right here, and then it lists your assigned field staff, and you guys are pretty familiar with who your field staff are. But you all should be listed as public institutions. Like I said, this is a test one. It's got stuff all over the place. So you should be listed as a public institution all across the board, and then you would be educational. This section right here is one that we've updated. So you're the new district coordinator, but you need my superintendent's driver's license. So if you already have an account to the existing district you're with, if you already have an account for the district you're with, you're good. We still locked you out because that's sometimes the only way we can get a hold of the right people is when you can't get in. So we are probably missing it for just your superintendent. In the email I sent you, if you got the email from me, it would have stated if we needed one from you or just the superintendent. So you might refer to that email. And if you didn't get the email personally, shoot us an email and we'll look it up if you're confused about what you guys need. Jennifer knows who you're with, so she's looking it up right now, I think. But we made some changes to this last year. We made it where you guys can't change this, and it's important that we have the right person in this spot here and that we keep up with it, because we just need to make sure we have the right information on file. It's more important really those for our for-profit institutions, which obviously isn't you guys. An owner can't just change and they have to reapply and all that. But it's also important that we have the superintendent's information and we get the certificate of authority and all that when a new superintendent comes in. And we've realized that we don't have in cars, there's a process when you guys come on, when a new superintendent comes on, those are collected a different way through OMES, and somehow we've just kind of failed to get those onto CACFP. So we have a process in place to help us keep up with the new superintendent whenever that should happen, but always take a look here. And if we don't have the right person, if big boss man is not your superintendent, let us know. Email us and let us know and get a new certificate for us. Okay. Dan, I think Jennifer's looking on that too as well. Okay, so here's our problem. If I come down here to click save, this form will not save if we've added these new fields. We added the birth date and addresses for this person here. This save button looks at everything on this page, and if it's missing, it will not let us save. So when we didn't have the superintendent's information to be able to update it, we don't want to just make stuff up. So we need it, and that's where we stopped and said, hey, we need your certificates of authority. The reason that we locked you out of the application is because I need to be able to come down here, and I don't know if y'all can see this when you log in, but this is how we control the type of application and entity you are. And we added these brand new entity types. We added a school at-risk independent, so that's if you're just one site. And we added an at-risk school at-risk sponsor, which is if you have more than one site. I can't change this and make you have the right application type if I can't click save. And if I don't have this information, it's not going to save. So do you see how it's kind of just like, it's just a snowball effect. And we're not trying to hold you back. We just don't want you to fill out the wrong application. Mostly because it's got forms. The one if you uploaded one or if you inserted an application already, it's not right. It's got stuff in there you don't even need to do. So with all that said, if you go here and there's on a birth date and an address and we haven't gotten what we need and you need to get with us, okay? So I'm moving on to the next. We're going to look at the applications. Most of you should be who can log in, should go to this page and you'll see we've already inserted your 2023 application. Don't do it again because it will insert a new one and it couldn't. I learned that this morning. I didn't know that was possible, but you can't. So look here and make sure you've got a 2023. We've gone in and done it for you so that we can make sure your application type is correct. First, we're just going to go through the application for an independent. That means you just have one site. When you go into this application checklist, you're going to see it's far smaller than last year. Far smaller. You don't have to do near as much. And actually, we've got it designed to where these 4 forms here, what should happen if you were approved last year and these forms were in an approved status, these should have actually rolled forward and already be submitted for you. Because these are pretty, I mean, these are forms you have to agree to. It's things you have to do every year. And they only need updated as anything might change. So you need to make sure that you click into them and you read it, but don't resubmit it. Like this meal policy statement, you don't have to do anything. If you click I have read and agreed with the statement, that's fine. We'll just have to resubmit it. But uh-oh, I didn't mean to do that. I see what you're talking about now. It took me back to the main page. So just read through them on these ones that are already submitted. Your civil rights, go through it, make sure nothing has changed. If you've changed how you reach out and contact minority grassroots organizations and things like that. Generally, you might do something different each year, but I doubt it. So read through here. All these should have rolled forward from last year, just like what you had entered. This will roll forward with a checkbox that says, yep, I understand we all have to have civil rights. And as you know, or if you didn't, the civil rights training we do for NSLP and SFSP and CACFP, they're all the same. They just have the different acronyms in there. We'll honor one of them for all programs, but it's your responsibility to know that by checking this, and it should already be checked, that you have done your training for the year, the current fiscal year, and you'll keep those documentation, the certificates or however you know, some of you might do individual certificates or you might do it as a group and have a roster. However you've done your civil rights, you've got that in your files and understand it will be reviewed when we come out for an administrative review. But if you scroll through this page and everything still looks like it needs to be, nothing needs to be updated, you don't need to, I'm gonna have Edgar look at that. You won't have to do anything. If you notice what's happening, and we didn't notice this in testing, but if you go and click return to checklist, it's supposed to take you back to your checklist, but it's taking you to here. So that's kind of frustrating. We will have to get that fixed. Public release, this is another one. Everyone that's a renewal should have this right here. If you're brand new, you're not going to have this box yet. We have to do a public or a statewide public release every year. We do, and then so do you. You can choose to do a public release on your own, but it's not required. If you want to, if you open this form and this is checked and it's submitted and approved, you don't need to do anything further. If you have something listed in there from a year prior, if you delete it, I will advise you that it will kick it out and you'll have to resubmit. Not a big deal, but you can leave it there if it's something old. Or if you truly want to let us know that you did your own public release, that's fine too. But for CACFP, every year we take anyone who selects this, we print it up, we send it to communications, and we let the public know we do what we need to do on your behalf to do that public release. Disclosure of lobbying activities. This is just one of those forms that USDA said we had to do. So I have a question. For the staff who give out the meals, will you accept the mandatory school rights? Yes, well, for anyone in the program, we'll accept our civil rights training. The only difference is the acronym, whether it's NSLP or CACFP. So we'll honor either one. When the email was sent out over the weekend saying the application was open and you started on it, but now it's locked, waiting on approval, superintendent. When it, well, what I've found is if you've gone in there and some of you were Johnny on the spot. I mean, I couldn't believe how quick you guys got in there, and so we've been scrambling trying to get it taken care of. So, I did find that if there was a form you completed and I changed the application, it doesn't look like it affected anything, but I can't promise that, Debbie. Yeah, I'm telling you, guys are quick, which I'm not, I wouldn't discourage it, but this is one time that we want to make sure we have you set up correctly. So just go in there and take a look at it when you get in there. There were some that had already started and I changed them over. You might have filled out a form that you didn't need to do. And that worst case scenario is you did a little more than you needed, and now it's going to just not be on your checklist. So, okay, so back, somebody asked about, it's not through meal programs. They had civil rights training through something else. So really, if you had civil rights training that wasn't one of ours, we'd need to make sure it's equivalent to or better than ours. So I just advise you to have them take our training. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure what you mean, Ms. Kaufman. It's not through the meals program. So you might email me because I might not understand your question. You can email me about it. So on this disclosure of lobbying activities, honestly, nobody ever fills this out. But if you ever do legitimate lobbying, you have to report it, and we have to make sure you're not using CACFP dollars to do it. So if this doesn't apply to you, you just scroll down here and click submit, and then return to checklist, and it takes us back to here. We got to show that to Edgar. Yeah. Edgar will get it fixed. Okay, so far we've gone through all these, and really, if none of these change, you don't have to do anything. This one, you just have to click submit. That brings us to our last form on your checklist. We're almost over. I'm telling you guys, it's going to be so much better. Everything that you had in this form, and again, this is a test application, so it's blank, but everything you had from the prior year should fall forward or roll forward to this. Okay, so you got to, if it's missing, fill it in. I think last year we had, this actually said middle name, but we changed it to title because we really don't need a middle name. Make sure, none of these have changed. Make sure you click public school here. Sometimes that's not clicked correctly. Do you participate in any other states? You guys are no. You guys are not licensed. Make sure you have no on this one. You might have some kind of license, but it's not the license we're talking about here. None of you have a DHS license. What did I say about the lobbying form? Sorry, I do talk fast. You simply, does your school lobby, like legitimately lobby? If so, you're gonna have to fill it out. And I'm gonna be honest, I couldn't give you good instructions on how to fill it out because I'm not a lobbying person. If they don't, scroll to the bottom and submit. That's all you have to do. Yeah, you guys can't. I don't think you can lobby. It's the same. Yeah, you just submit it. Okay, type of institution. If you're single-sided, this should be grayed out for you. It should be automatically selected. If ever there's anywhere it asks if you're what type of institution, or if you're public or private, make sure you're always clicking public. You guys are what we consider a public entity. Everyone in here should already have this checked marked, at-risk program, and it should already be filled out. With however you qualify. Jennifer tries to go through there periodically and update any that might be expiring soon, but be mindful if this date is coming close to expiring, it's tied to claims. So it will cut you off the day that down to I think if it expires in the month, it won't let you claim in that month. So be mindful of that. She tries to stay ahead of it, but right now it's a little bonkers. We're all human, we make mistakes. So it's important for you to know when your determination expires, because there is the very real possibility that your school has to be at least, or that site or one of your school sites has to be at least 50% or more free and reduced, and it could drop. So it could be a possibility when your 5 years is over, you may not be eligible anymore. I don't know. So here you need to put your hours of operation. This isn't just the hours in which you're serving meals. It needs to be the hours of operation of when the at-risk program is happening. Because when we come to do a meal or an administrative review, we also have to do a meal observation. But we're there for more than just the meal time. So we need to know when we can come and this is going on. Some of you might just put your whole school hours of operation. That's fine too. But we just need to know when we can come to this site and expect to be able to access your documents and do an administrative review. Dates of operation, this hasn't changed. And this is one thing I think you guys that we see the most mistakes on for schools, because this program operates October to September. You have another contract or agreement application with NSLP, and that's July to June. So a lot of times you guys think that this is also over when you leave school in May. It's not. So when you come back after the summer, you still have August and September left, obviously, even though we had the bright idea to lock you out in July for other reasons. But this contract goes through the end of September. We are going to have to make it our normal process and procedure that in July, when you guys start back up, we need to collect those new bell schedules, regardless of whether you're doing the extended learning hour or not, because we really have to verify that your meal time is after the bell rings, the last bell, or if you're eligible. So everyone has to submit a bell schedule, and luckily we've gotten everyone's bell schedule now, so we've gotten that hurdle out of the way for this year.
The only other reason they might walk out.
Oh, yes, or also if your food service management contract, we have to go by those dates. So if it expired at some point during the summer, just know that your application is still approved, but we can't let you claim until we get those updated documents. So it's kind of weird how, not weird, but it's confusing when you have two programs running two different fiscal years. And I say all that to make this point. A lot of times we'll see you guys put your school year start and end, and that's wrong. You need to put October 1 of the current year and 9/30 of the following year. That's the dates that you are applying to operate this program. Unless you legitimately know you're going to end in May and you're never going to reapply again, then that would be correct. But if you put August whatever to May whatever, that's not right. You need to put October 1st to September 30th. Does that make sense? If you've not heard back about the bell schedule, it's not that we have forgotten about you. I promise. We are working very hard. We hope that we'll have that and the whole certificate of authority and everybody have access to everything by the end of this week. It's Wednesday, right? We're only at Wednesday. We still have some time to get it done. Yeah. We'll get, and you still, yeah, we're going to get everyone access back so you can claim and move on. We did add this here, check the days which you're going to operate. This is especially helpful for any schools that only operate 4 days a week, which most of you just don't go on Friday, but we have seen sometimes some instances of that varying, or you might operate on a weekend, I don't know, but tell us which days you operate. And then the number of operating weeks per year. You guys would normally just put your number of weeks in your school year, but that's not correct because you're actually this school year and part of another. Does that make sense? When you said free and reduced needs to be 50%, which school year is that determined from? It's determined from when you apply. It's the most current information we had at the moment that you applied, and it comes from the NSLP low income report, as you know. And it lasts 5 years. A lot of times, this was done without you even knowing it. It's important for you to know that it only lasts 5 years and that it could end someday. CACFP cannot operate on a non-school day. Well, that's a very gray area. You can operate on weekends if you have events and it's in your approved application. You can operate on breaks and stuff during like spring break, Christmas break, things like that. And is that what you're talking about? So you can operate during breaks. Yeah, you can operate during fall break because you can't operate outside of the normal school year. So if you have events and stuff that are just anomalies throughout the year, you can operate during those days. Okay, but I recommend that we had a comment section here and then we took it out, but I would recommend if you do that, what I've been telling people, put it here in this shift. Just, it may not be a shift, but it's a place where you can put a note that like, hey, we're going to operate on fall break and put those dates just so it's documented somewhere. Okay, so days of the year, number of weeks operating per year. I would just put I mean, however many weeks it is minus July and June and July, 42. I don't know. I can't count. You're shortchanging yourself if you're only putting stuff for your current school year because this overlaps. And E, do you serve meals in shifts? So in at-risk, you can only do a meal and a snack, right? But you can serve, actually, you can serve 2 servings of each one. That's regulatory. So is there a need for you to have multiple shifts? Most of you wouldn't really need it because your hours of operation aren't that long anyway. But if you do, you can, and you can put it there. Why? But like I told her before, if you have something like a fall break or anything, just so it's documented, just put it there. This F here, this is all you guys can see what's highlighted. We control this. This is how, like when we go and approve your application for you guys. Oh, that's interesting. That button didn't work. I'm stuck. It logged me out. I broke it. Let me get logged back on. Okay, what button did I just press? I don't want to do it again. The select all button. Okay, I got to make a note. Yeah. Okay. I clicked this select all button, but don't worry, y'all can't see this button anyway. Yeah, I did it. What if high school has I don't know what that means. Do you know what she's asking? Oh, you can't see it. What if high school has something run at different times? I don't understand your question, Ms. Kaufman, if you can read. Oh, okay. What if high school has a different activity at different times? That would be a reason. Well, we're not worried about the activity being ran at different times. We're just talking about the meal. Now, if you have activities that are ran at the same time or different times that require you to serve at different times, then we would need to know about that. You're serving the supper meal during the 7th hour. This year we received the grant, so we need to serve snack during the time as well. Is there a time between the two specifically we need to serve snack? No, there's no regulation on the amount of time that has to be between the meal times. Is that what you're asking, Anita? In regular CACFP, there's very strict guidelines. You have to have this many hours or not this many. There's no guidelines. So you can serve it as close to or as far apart, those two, the meal and the snack. The at-risk eligibility documentation page in the paper document section of our has the wrong school and address on it. Oh, Jennifer Pryor says she fixed it yesterday, and since you're locked out, you can't see that yet. So it should be corrected now. Yeah. Generally, our meal times do last about 30 minutes. There's no restriction either on how long the meal times are. There's no guidelines on that. It just has to be a reasonable amount of time. I mean, at some point we'd be like, it's too long, or no, that's not near enough time. But it's at your discretion how long your meal times last. And it's important for you to know, and I want to reiterate that we're going back to normal, whatever that means. And right now we don't have any available waivers in CACFP. We've got some stuff in case like something happens and we can request some flexibilities, but you guys have to operate as normal. So the kids have to come there, the meals have to be served during the serving time, and they have to be consumed on site. Okay, there's no more to go and none of that. And we have to have real enrichment activities. So, okay. So, and like I said, to reiterate on your question about the meal times, I think I answered your question, Anita. If you're talking about what amount of time it has to span in between them, as far as CACFP goes on at-risk, there's no requirement. So we might ask questions if something seems odd, but anyways, you guys aren't going to see any of this, and I'm not going to click that select all button because it's broken. Moving on. Section 3A, this has always been there, but we made the box a little bigger. Please give us a good, does on-site mean on school grounds? On-site means at the physical address of where you say this after-school program is being conducted. Yeah. Yep, it has, you can't give it to them as they're walking out the door, getting on the bus. That's not okay. They have to come there and choose to take a meal and stay there and eat it wherever you're serving. So this is telling us how you're taking an actual physical count. Counts are taken as meals are served. That's a good enough response, but it would be nice. That's just an example. A lot of times people just copy that and put it, but give us some good explanation of how you guys are taking your counts. Counts cannot be based on attendance records. That's never okay. You have to have a way to have a legitimate point of service, just like you do with an SLP, to make sure the meals are creditable, and that only one meal per child is counted, and so on and so forth. We changed up our mealtime section here a little bit, and you'll see now that we have a column that says yes and no for CACFP and at risk. Somebody says they're not able to see. Is everybody else seeing my screen okay? Please. Oh, you can't log in. Okay. Okay, sorry. You're still locked. So just hang tight, watch what I'm going through, and make notes. And by the end of today, I hope we can have most of you, if you've sent us our stuff, we'll get you access. So we've added these columns. We did this because we have some institutions, some sites that do both. It's not super common, but it is helpful for us to know that if we have a site that does regular CACFP and at risk, this wouldn't include any of you guys. So these would have rolled over, and it's going to have whatever you had before. I wonder if it's going to let me enter something. Just making stuff up. Hold on a second. Oh yeah, it's only not going to let me do that. Okay. Oh man, I should have set this up before I did it. So you guys, all your stuff should say no on CACFP and yes on at risk. If all your meal times right now come through and they say no on both, you're going to have to, and it's not going to let me add one because of all these edits. Oh, there it went. There it went. Let me, hold on. Okay. So I put yes and yes on both of these. That would not be accurate. If it said no and no on both of them, which all of y'all probably do say no and no, because this is a new feature that we just shoved in here. It's not going to be a deal breaker if you submit it and don't fix it, but it would expedite our process of approving if you knew that you need to do this. So make sure you can go in here and click edit. Yours want to say no on CACFP and yes on at risk. So you click edit and then add an update. Okay, edit on your existing meal time. And if you need to change your meal times, obviously do that at this time too. And make sure it says no on CACFP, yes on at risk, add an update meal. Does that make sense? And so you got that message. I'm going to click this again, edit, add an update. So you see it says mealtime changes must be submitted, yada, 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 yada. Anytime your application is approved and you change a mealtime, that's when we need that mealtime change form. On application renewal, when you're not yet approved, we don't need that form. So don't send us a mealtime change form. This edit is just there so that after you're approved, it reminds you and it'll kick the application out. And that's for auditing purposes. So we've had, honestly, it's because of an audit finding. So say we approve you to serve, you start out doing a supper and a snack, right? And you do a supper and a snack and you claim and you get paid for a supper and a snack for a few months in the fiscal year. Well, you're like, okay, we're just going to do supper now. We don't want to do the snack. And so you come in here and you delete it. And then our auditors come 6 months later and look and say, well, they were only approved for supper, but you paid them for these months for snack. You've paid them for meals they weren't approved for. So that's just one of the flaws of our system, is there's really no way to capture that once you've deleted it. So we just need that mealtime change form to capture any changes after the application's approved. Yeah, we only want your serving times that are strictly for at risk here, for your at risk, after school, or extended learning hour program. So if your information is already there, you don't need to add anything. The only thing you would need to do is if this says no and no, do that edit and make sure you click yes on at risk and update. Okay. You click on edit to mark at risk and it takes you to the home screen. Okay. Made a note. If you're getting an issue where you click edit and it takes you to the home screen, we might have a glitch and we can fix it for you guys until we get that fixed. We've got something else for Edgar to help us with. All right, so section B, it used to be directions and last year it's comments. Now we made it into where it's just an attestation statement that you have to click that says you understand your records have to be maintained daily and kept on site and they shouldn't be removed, and that you're given 1 hour to produce them if they're taken off site. I don't know that we have this happen a lot with schools. It's more of maybe our centers and things like that, but it's good for everyone to know and acknowledge that you got to keep your paperwork has to be kept up to date and you got to have it there. And if it's not, we'll give you 1 hour to produce it. That's been our policy for some time. So we need to click on yes at risk, even if it was previously no. It defaulted to no because this is new. So if you put no on at risk, that means that's not a serving time for at risk. You guys are all school at risk, so you need to change it to yes. The reason it's no is because this is a new function, so it just defaulted to no. And like I said, it's not a deal breaker. We'll change it for you if you miss it, or if we don't get that edit button, somehow it's throwing you an error. Section C, we tried to clean this up, but I don't know that we got to all of them. But last year in your application, and we put this word in here just sneakily during the year, but this word used to not be here. It used to just say, is this a private nonprofit institution? But we added the word public because we need a way to override some things for you guys. You're public, you're not required to have the 25% eligibility. Like our for-profit institutions, they have to have at least 25% of their kids participating that are free and reduced or receiving DHS subsidy. That doesn't apply to you guys. Private nonprofits have to have a 501c3. That doesn't apply to you guys. So we changed this so that we could override some things. So make sure this says yes, you are a public institution as far as this program is concerned. B, if you're a renewal, this has to be yes. If you operated last year at least 1 month, it's yes. And just give us a general idea. And most of you, it's going to be yes because you've been in NSLP. We don't need the exact date, but just give us a little bit of history about, yeah, I've been on NSLP since 1978. I don't know. Just something to let us, we got to have a response there. Do you have a Head Start program? So your site might have a Head Start program, but that if they have nothing to do with this at-risk program, you're just doing this solely through your school and it's your at-risk program, you would say no. And that would apply to everyone here. D, methods in which your meals will be provided. So really there's only going to be one selection of these 5. You either prepare your meals there at the site, you have a central kitchen where you prepare them and then they're delivered to your other sites, or you might be under contract with a vendor. You're not going to be under contract with a local school system, or a vendor or a food service management company. In the event that either one of these are selected, it's going to require you to put the name of that company there, and that we just put that there just so kind of a way to make sure we're collecting what we need from you, because we have to have an approved agreement or contract on file with those vendors. And I don't think anybody in here, you guys, if you click anything other than these 2, it's going to be a food service management company. So that will just stop us in our tracks when we're approving. You just say I'm with Keystone or whatever, put that in there. That knows we need to make sure when we're looking at your uploaded documents that we have that contract in there and all the information pertinent for this year. Jennifer likes that one. E, you've got to put in the number of participants enrolled. And here you should not be able to click this. If you click this and you've not marked something somewhere correctly, and it's probably this right here. Got to make sure it says yes, because then all the for-profit stuff, just will not apply to you. Make sure you do not have a bubble here or numbers. If something somehow from last year rolled forward and it was done incorrectly last year, stop and don't go any further, and reach out to Jennifer and I so we can fix it and get that off of there. Because we've had instances where it was accidentally turned on and then you guys were having to report like number of Title 20 on your claim, and that's not applicable for you guys. So if that's happening to you and there's something here, just hold on, contact us and we'll turn it off, okay? If you're with a food service company, so if you're, and you prep at the meal service, so if you're a food service company, we still have to have that contract. Yeah. Site D personnel. So what you guys will experience on this page is different than what I'm seeing. I'm in a brand new one, like they've never entered anything. What you're seeing on section D, if you're a renewal, you're going to see what could have rolled forward from last year there, and you're going to see a section, part of your people's stuff there empty, the duties section. And if you don't update this section and enter their duties, it won't let you save. And right now, let me enter one real quick. So we'll just say one. It asks, is any portion of the salary paid with CACFP funds? Either way, we're just gonna say no. This person creates menus, serve meals, whatever. I'm gonna add it. When you, I did that twice. Did I click it twice? I'm gonna try that again. Okay, I must have just got click happy there. So what you're seeing should be everything, but this is gonna be blank. It's not going to let you save it. When you come down here, it'll say, hey, you don't have any duties. We're still working on an edit button. So there's no way for you to go back and add it. So unfortunately, you're only left with, you're gonna have to just delete it and start over. Delete it and put those back in there. We didn't have time to get the edit button. It's still better than what we had last year, because if you remember, you entered it up here, if they were admin, or down here if they were operating. It's just one place and you tell us what they do. So who they are, how many they are of each position, whether they're paid with CACFP funds or not, and add. So until you see an edit button there, you're just gonna have to delete them and re-enter them. This here is probably, I don't know, there's some consulting services that work with NSLP, but this is more for our CACFP folks, not at risk. But if you pay anyone to help you with your administrative responsibilities in CACFP, that's like your paperwork, claims, things like that, that are outside of your district, you have to have procured that properly and have a contract in place. I highly doubt this applies to any of you, but if there is an individual or a company that's doing any of your administrative responsibilities for CACFP, you got to click that and then put who or what the company is there. Section E. So if you're multi-sided, you're not going to have this section here. We'll go over the sponsor application here in a little bit. And that's where that's on there for you guys. But this is our ethnic racial makeup. And we've added a couple of new categories, not reported for ethnic, and then 2 or more and not reported down here in racial. So for years, we've not had those, and it's kind of created a problem and kind of a burden on you guys to figure out what to select, because as you know, each child can only be one ethnicity, and up until now, they can only be one race. Because if you have 50 kids enrolled, your ethnic breakdown has to be 50, your racial breakdown has to add up to be 50. And here's another plug for me to be able to show you my child. Some time ago, it was before COVID, I think, or in the middle of COVID, or I don't know, it all runs together at this point. USDA said you can't observe and assume, you can't observe a child's race and mark it that way. It has to be reported somehow. I like to use my child as an example, because what would you mark for this child if you had to observe him and assume his race? He's just your run-of-the-mill, blonde hair, blue-eyed, white kid. But he's not. His dad is Japanese. I can assure you of that. So he would be misidentified every time. So I can respect that we don't just observe a child and assume anything. But it places the burden back on you guys when the parent chooses not to report it, which they can. They don't have to report it. But we didn't have a way in our system to accommodate that. And I think this change is coming down the road in cars as if it hasn't happened already. And if I'm speaking out of turn, Edgar will get on to me when I get off of here. But no, I think it's true. Because we need a way to record that. If all these kids' ethnicities and racial requirement, if that requirement has to match our enrollment, we have to be able to make it match and report it correctly. So my child will be 2 or more races, not just white. So hopefully that makes sense. Down here, up here is your actual enrollment data. Down here is for your beneficiary or potential beneficiary. Just report, these numbers might be the same for you, but this, if this is just one site, report your total breakdown for your entire district. It's just one of those requirements that USDA wants us to report, the beneficiaries of that area. In F, you just have to say you've done training, and you understand that you have to have training, and anyone who has anything to do with CACFP has to have training, and that you did it, and that you'll keep it on file and show us when we come out for a review. Any questions on this forms at all? You guys are quiet. Okay, so that brings us to, back to this page, your budget. You don't have one. You guys don't have to do a budget. No more budgets. Schools do not have to do a budget. The budget's for the purpose of determining that you're financially viable and that you're spending the money on allowable cost. You're already doing that. You're in good, as long as you're in good standing and operating another one of our programs, you're viable. So you're good. There's no more budget. And we've been so excited to share that with you guys because it was traumatizing for us all last year. So it's not missing, it's just not required anymore. Now we'll tell you that we'll still look at expenditures and stuff, and that there might be some changes come in for that down the road when we do our reviews for CACFP. But we'll still be looking at it on the back end because we have to make sure that you're operating your nonprofit food service account accurately, but we do that on an SLP anyhow. So if you are an independent school at risk, I love it. I thought you guys might be excited about it. So if you can forgive us for all the locking you out and forbidding you from logging in, this is why. Because we don't want you, if you were to insert the application and we didn't come in here and update it, you would have a budget, you'd have all this stuff on here you didn't have to fill out, and we don't want you to even go there and do that. Okay, so if you can just be patient and bear with us and get us a certificate of authority for your superintendent with his driver's license, we can update that, change your application type, then you will have this wonderful 6-page checklist that only 2 of them you really have to open and do anything other than just reviewing it. Really, this is the only form you have to do anything on. Pam, if you're seeing the budget, we've not got yours changed over yet. No, I think we kind of pulled back on that a long time ago. We just might not have announced it, that a superintendent, they're really the one in charge, even though the board will hire and fire the superintendent, they're the ones that's the primary responsible person. So he doesn't really need anyone to approve his, he can sign his own. So hopefully that will make that a little bit easier to obtain. And they're probably going to look at you like you're crazy when they're like, those dang CACF people now want your driver's license and your blood type. And I know it feels like that, but we just have to apply the same requirements for everyone. But you don't have to do a budget. So there's that. So maybe that will soften the blow. Okay, so the other thing we've changed. Oh, that's right. I'm glad you said that, Robin. Hold up. We don't have the application questionnaire.
Yeah.
Not going to let me, Robin, all right, do I have your permission to open your account so I'm not in a test account and I can show people? Okay. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait on me to fill it out for real, and that could take forever, as you guys know, with all the edits. You are with Newkirk, right? I think that's right. Okay. So, Pamela Reynolds. If you're seeing a budget, we don't have you changed yet. So hang tight, we'll get it taken care of. Thank you for pointing this out. So yeah, We also have this where, okay, so in years past, this at-risk questionnaire was on there for everyone. And inevitably we had centers that would fill it out and it didn't apply to them. So the only way this form appears is if this button now is checked, and it didn't appear for me because I don't have it checked. So here's our at-risk questionnaire. At-risk questionnaire. You also have to do this one, sorry. Everything will roll forward as well from last year. So go through it, make sure nothing needs to change. Your activities may have changed. I don't know. This would be another place to also document. We're also going to serve on fall break. But we did add a couple of new questions down here. For schools only, are you going to do the extended learning hour? And it's just making sure you understand what the requirements of that are. And are you doing offer versus serve? Because we don't really ask that anywhere on the application, but then we come out and review you and we find out you are, and maybe not, it's not being done properly or vice versa. So we just need to know if that's what you plan to do. On an boy, I can't talk. This is my second training today. On the organizational chart, we don't need names. We don't, just titles. The chart to use is not large enough and I don't know how to create one. I've literally had a school one time where they had an org chart that was like this big giant document on their wall in the office, and they took a picture of it and sent it to me. I don't care how you get it to us. It can be something as silly as that. But we just have to see the structure and to make sure we know, and we know it's a superintendent, and I know it's redundant for a school, but it's a requirement for everyone. So I don't know if that answers your question, Laura. Yeah, there's one, and there's a template in our resource library, but it might not be big enough for you. But it's really just, I mean, we're just trying to make sure that we have a breadcrumb trail to the chain of command. If you can't fit all the teachers and janitors and everything on there that really never would have anything to do with CACFP, just make sure we know where to go to. Like if you're not doing what you need to be doing, who do we go to next? What title? And like I said, it's a moot point for a school because we know it's superintendent and then it's the board, and we don't ever go to the board. It would have to take something pretty drastic, and we'd have to have really, the authority to do that. We go to the superintendent. You can draw one by hand. I don't care. I even had one time where somebody did Post-it, and it was like Post-its on a desk, and they took a picture. We're not that picky. As long as it gives us the information we need, go for it. If you've already inserted an application, although haven't entered information, do we need to delete it? Lori, who are you with? It just means we haven't got yours and changed it yet, and I guess if you're okay with it, I'm gonna go look yours up real quick. I don't guess we got your access turned off, so I can go ahead and change it for you, and we can do the same thing for the other one that said that. But we still, there we go. We still need to be able to come over here and update all this stuff. So we need that certificate of authority to be able to correct that. I don't know what happened there. So Lori DeLay says that it will not let her save applications because she needs to choose DHS subsidy and a type of institution is grayed out. So that's one of those where, Lori, who are you with? We need to fix that for you. Okay, let me make a note of that because it'll take me a little bit to get that fixed. I'll get it fixed and I'll get back with you. For the sake of this training, I want to go forward so we can get to our multi-sided people. So, okay. The other thing on the check. Okay, yeah, we need to get it changed over. If you're seeing extra stuff and budgets and all that, we haven't gotten it changed over, and we still need your information because we can't change it over until we have that. We also have all this uploaded document stuff that you guys need to submit to us, and we've had this turned off for many years where you couldn't go into uploaded documents and view this, but we turned it back on. No, you shouldn't lose any information, but I can't promise that, Pam. So you have all these uploaded documents, and we tell you to certify that they're all the correct documents, but we never let you get in there to look to see what they were. So everything in here should have rolled forward, submitted, and approved, but go in here and make sure, like your UEI, if it expires, you would know because you can't claim. But I would encourage you to go in here. You can click uploaded documents. You can go into this area. You'll see this is gray. This is grayed out, and you won't be able to select delete. I can because I'm logged in as me. But go in here and look. Like one good example of something to review is if you do have an agreement or a food service management company, go in there and see which one we have. Make sure it's the most up-to-date one. If it's not, although we have access to it real easily, you know, you can at least let Jennifer know, hey, this is not the right one. And then she doesn't have to dig it up and find it when she gets to it, if that makes sense. So go in here and review and make sure they're the right documents. Your at-risk eligibility documentation. So that's going to look at that. Take a look at that and make sure it's correct. It's going to be based off when she redetermined it. And most of them got redetermined last year. Most of them aren't due again for at least 3 more years. Just take a look at what's in there and make sure it's up to date. If it's wrong, let us know. And then, okay, I'm going to switch to a school at-risk sponsor. So this is, and we're still missing that went away because I'm back in my test account, but all of you have to do that at-risk questionnaire. So if you're a sponsor, a multi-sided, you'll see that you have, this is your first form at the top. And then you're going to have application for participation, however many sites you have. That hadn't changed. But your sponsor application, the most important thing you need to know about this one is when you come in here, you need to click public school. We did this in the most discreet way possible and require the least amount of work for our developers, because we don't really want to just announce to everyone that, oh, well, schools don't have to do a budget, because then we get to hear about it from everyone else that has to do one. So with that said, once you click on this public school button, it'll refresh your page like you just saw, and it's going to gray out this entire budget. None of it has to be done. It's there and you can see it. And the reason you still have to have this page is because on page 2 is where you fill out some other information, and it was just too complicated to pull this off. So when you click public school, like you saw me do, the page will flash and you'll see down here that none of this will make you fill in anything, okay? It should roll forward with public school already selected, but if you inadvertently at some point had clicked the wrong thing and it wasn't public school, then it will gray it out for you. So if you're an at-risk school sponsor and you can come down here and type on this, you need to stop, go back up here and click that. Change it. You do not have to do it. I'm going to go back to Newkirk since she already told me it was okay to look at hers with everybody. Oops, I didn't spell it right. Because I can't get to the second page of the sponsor app. Well, she's not a sponsor. Is there somebody in here that's a sponsor that doesn't mind me using their application to look at? Anybody that's okay, who are you with, Jennifer? Clinton. Okay, there we go. We'll do Clinton. Thank you. I just don't want to go in here and blast people's information and without your permission. All right, so this is the only thing that's changed, is that you don't have to do this. But I should have also mentioned Part F here, federal funds expended in prior fiscal year. You guys do have to do this section. So if you try to submit and it says, oh wait, hold up, you can't do that, you got to come back here and do Part F. This used to be its own form. If you recall, we had the funds received form. After for a lot of reasons that doesn't really apply to schools, we had to make some changes to this, and we decided to just put this on the budget, and it's federal funds expended. It used to say federal funds received, but we need to know how much you spent in federal funds and CACFP funds in your prior year. So generally your expended and your received should be similar because you can't spend it if you didn't receive it, but just know we want to know how much CACFP you spent in your prior year and how much other federal funds. So that includes all your other funding, your title funding, whatever other kind of funding you get. And then the date of your last audit, which you guys all have to have audits. The audits we're talking about aren't our administrative reviews. We're talking about your actual audit that you get. I know there's other terminology that you guys call it, but it's the audit you guys have to send to the State Department anyway. And then just, yeah, it's just your organizational wide audit. There's some other term sometimes people call it, and I don't remember what it was, what you guys call it. Anyway, so audit you have to give SDE. And then you click save on that there. I don't know, I may have to, I don't want to mess with. Hey, will that select all button work? This is a section also that you won't see these months. This is only anything we can see. Sorry, it's making me do this to go to the next page. I'm probably going to get some other message. Oh, I didn't. Okay. So on page 2, you used to have 4 questions here. I don't think about that. They don't do the VCA. Well, okay. So really, you guys don't even have to do what's called a management plan. And that's where these questions are part of your management plan. And these 2 are, there was 4 questions here, and we took some of them off because they're on the VCA page that you guys also had to fill out last year. You don't have to do the VCA anymore. But these are still questions that pertain to being a sponsor that you have to answer. So instead of 4 there in section A, there's only 2. Here is your ethnic and racial breakdown. This is basically just a total of all your sites all together. Eventually, I hope to have that auto calculate, but we didn't get it done yet. And then again, here is your potential beneficiary information that where I said on our single-sided people, they have it on that other application. This is where you guys have to report that. So you're just going to report, these numbers might be the same. If your whole district's on at-risk, it would be the same as your potential eligible beneficiaries. Part C is your sponsoring section. Nothing about this has changed. It's important for you to know that you got to have all your sites in here that are on the at-risk, and you have to have adequate monitoring hours, and you have to monitor them. Monitoring is required. We did have the monitoring waiver that it's kind of a moot point for you guys, because if you're in school, you're there and you're going to be doing your monitoring, but that's probably likely going to be going away. All of our flexibilities are slowly going away. Section D is about training. You got to click the box, say, yep, I've trained them all. I understand I got to keep my records on file. Tell us your plan for training, and then who does the training. And actually, this is supposed to be the person's position, the title, rather than a name. That happens a lot. So any questions about the sponsor application? Pretty cut and dry. Make sure you click public school. You don't have to do the budget. Let's see. One thing's important here that we also added for everyone. Once you've done the few forms you have to do, and then you come down here and say, yeah, all these forms are submitted. We've added this here where you have to put your name. Please, please, please make sure that when you're logged in as yourself, and the name you put here is actually your name and the person you're logged in as. We know what happens. We know that user accounts are shared, and it's really not a legal practice. It's not okay to log in as someone else. So if you're doing this, and if you're doing these applications and your superintendent has given you that authority, that's fine, but don't log in as a superintendent or someone else. Get your own user account, okay? And then make sure that, you know, Betty Sue has got her own account. She's logged in as Betty Sue, that Betty Sue is the one certifying. I've read all this. I've reviewed it. I've updated it, what needs to be updated. And I understand that I'm going to be in big trouble if it's a lie. We'll know. So, and then you'll click submit to CMP. And that's the end. That's it. That's pretty easy. Make sure everyone has to do also an end of year report. We're requiring that for all of you guys. So if you're not familiar with what that needs to be, it doesn't necessarily have to be on our form, but the end of year report is just a report of 769, what you spent for CACFP. You can send us that in any form that you have. You don't have to use a form we've created. We just want to know what you spent on CACFP, what you made to make sure you're not in a profit status. If you are, don't panic. We have we've had that been happening because of COVID. You guys have some instances of more money. We've had people that have more money than they're having a hard time figuring out how to spend. We can do a spend down plan, things like that. So we just need to know in your last fiscal year, it can either be the last 12 months or it can be your last completed fiscal year. So that would be your last July to June. Doesn't matter. Either one is fine. We will need that before we can approve your application. And then you just submit to CMP. Org chart, end of year report. You might have been getting the emails about background checks. This does not apply to you guys. You guys already have to go through that process to work in a public school. You do not have to meet that requirement. You also probably have been getting emails about registering with the Secretary of State. You're also excluded from having to do that. We know you don't have to prove you're a public school. We know you're a public school. So you guys do have to do the end of year report and you do have to do that organizational chart, and you'll email those things to Jennifer. Email those to her, and without those, she won't be able to approve your application. It's important for you to know that we do have 30 days to review your application from the time you submit it. I can't imagine it's going to be anything like last year. Last year was terrible. We were still, yeah. So right now, I think the worst part of it is right now, because we're updating with your superintendent. We're still cleaning up your bell schedules. After that, it should be pretty smooth sailing, guys. But it's important for you to know that if you come into your application after you've submitted it, if you see check marks here, that means we had to kick something out and something wasn't right. And if you'll click the details box, a box will appear here and it will tell you, you know, like, please resubmit or please answer number 2, or I don't know, I'm just making stuff up. So just know if you see that, a check mark here, that means we need something. Open it up and read it. And like I've told all the other ones in our training, I would never discourage anyone from calling and asking for help. But if you're calling to ask about the status of when you're going to be approved, that just slows us down. So please be mindful that we know we're holding you guys up from getting done your application, or your application, and some of you for claims right now. We're working as quick as we can. So please just bear with us. We're going to get there. As long as you submit within the month of October, you will be honored back to October 1st. So don't worry about that. If you submit on October 31st, you're eligible for October. And we might not get to it until that 30th day well into November. If we do, I doubt it. I'm just saying it's gonna be better this year. But even if we don't approve well into November, you'll still be eligible for October, okay? Because you submitted within that month. We can't backdate back to the month. We can only go back to the first day of the month. Any questions? I think that's all I got. Do you have anything else? I think we're good. One good thing too, one good reminder when you're emailing Jennifer, put your agreement number in your subject line. Anymore, we tend to know when we know your names, we know who you're with, but sometimes when we're getting so much information in, it's helpful for that to be right there in the subject line so we know where we need to go to, whose account that is. I think that's all I got. Make sure you've attended training. Your training, I'll show you, it'll show up down there if you've attended training in the current fiscal year. It'll look like this. Make sure you guys have to attend the at-risk training. If you've not had the at-risk manual training for FY23, we cannot approve your application. And I think the next one is the 11th or 15th. Let me look. If you're not sure, and clearly I'm not sure, go into your training calendar. See what we got coming up. CACFP, no, that's application training. That's me. Oh, here we go. At-risk training. If you have not had at-risk training, go to this. We can't approve you until you take this. And if you miss this one, then we're gonna have to wait till next month, because now we've kind of got through that big bulk of trainings where we just had a ton of them, and now we're only going to go back to once a month. So get in here and take it. This is you don't need to attend any other application trainings. This is the one for you guys. There's this training tomorrow that's just like an hour. This is going over the new items that we kind of highlighted on today. You're welcome to attend that one, but I don't know that you guys really need that. Proof of ownership, you guys don't need that. We know that's really just for our other institutions that have 501c3s or are actual for-profits. So that does not pertain to you guys. Building for the future, if you are a sponsor, yes, like Jennifer said, you are supposed to send us that building for the future with your sponsor or your school district information down there in the bottom little box. Back to updating files. Do I need to send updated files to Jennifer? Yes, you cannot upload. You can view them, but you can't upload new ones. Send them to Jennifer. What was the date of the at-risk you showed? Couldn't see it. The next at-risk training date, I'm telling you, I can't talk, is the 11th. Yes. Can you attend training with any of our trainings? You can attend, well, to get to the training calendar, you have to be able to log in. Oops, I just sent that to one person. See if you can click on that. That is the Zoom link. If we're still don't have you guys given your access back by the 11th, just stick a fork in me, I'm done. We'll have it done by then, but if it happens, yeah, something's wrong. But go ahead while you're waiting on us, see if that link works, and that should take you straight to that Zoom, and you can register on Zoom. Let me know if it doesn't work. It should. I'm just gonna click it and see what happens. Yep, it worked. So there you go. Any other questions? That's all I got, guys. What about it? Oh yeah. So okay. Oh yeah. I didn't know what you're talking about. I do now. So we're kind of also in the middle of all this craziness. We're restructuring who's assigned to who, and so that it's just more consistent. Jennifer Pryor is going to have all at risk. So there's a handful of you guys that were sponsors that Karen Davis had you before, and now it's Lori Burrows, our new person. Just know I haven't quite finished it up yet, but everybody that's in this class right now, you are or will be assigned to Jennifer Pryor. So email your stuff to her. You have multiple sites that do at risk. Do I use expenditure reimbursement worksheet? It really depends. It really depends on how you operate. Because for schools, a lot of times, you might order and everything all together. It's not separated that way, so that's hard to answer. I would advise you to contact your consultant, or we call them regional specialists, and ask them, because it depends on how you operate. Either one could be sufficient. You do not have a training library choice on the left. Are you logged in? Because once you log in, it should appear. If you see here when I log out, it's not there. So somebody asked me in a message that they don't have a training library choice on the left. You're not able to log in. Okay, that means that, and I got that from you, and I'm making a note right now because I remember you sending that over to me. I'll get you updated, Leanne, and you'll be ready to go here pretty soon. You're welcome. And again, bear with us. If you haven't, or if you're uncertain, if your superintendent has sent us what we need and you can't log in, that means we probably have, well, we may have gotten it, not gotten to it yet, but just follow up with your superintendent and see if that's been taken care of. And we are working quick to get it done. And that's all I have. We can hang out here for any other questions, but you guys are free to go. That's it. I will tell you though, we have one glitch that I didn't mention. Oh no, it doesn't matter. You guys don't have to do a budget. Never mind. That glitch doesn't apply to you. I sent an email out in CACFP earlier. It doesn't apply to you because you guys don't do a budget. So never mind. You don't have training access either. You can only have training access if you log in. So either you're not logging in or, yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have to look at yours too, Miss Powell. Thank you guys too for all that you do. I hope this year is much better. If we already have your driver's license, we don't need it. It's just the superintendents we've been trying to collect it on. No, I'm a ding dong. I sent out the wrong link in that first one. You do not need to attend the training tomorrow unless you just need more training, but this is the one for you guys. So you do not need to attend tomorrow at 9 because it's just me talking about this again and all the other forms you don't have to do. So sorry about that confusion. That was 100% me. Thank you guys. Take care. We'll be monitoring the chat as you are leaving. Otherwise, you're free to go. See you guys later.